The Switch 2 got a brand new update with a really cool feature that changes the way that you play Switch 1 games in handheld mode, and I wanted to get right into this video, show you where the setting is, how to turn it on, and what exactly it does. Alright, so we want to go right over to the settings, all the way to the bottom to system, and then somewhere in the middle here you're going to see Nintendo Switch software handling. So you go into this menu, there's one setting. So essentially what this does is that any game that you're playing, it loads up and says, hey, are you in handheld mode or in dock mode? The system tells it, it switches the resolution to the one for handheld or the one for dock mode. But what this does is when you turn this on, if you play a Switch 1 game in handheld mode, the Switch 2 basically gaslights the game into thinking that it's playing in docked mode. It says, hey, no, actually we're docked. The internal display is actually an external monitor or a TV, so display to that. And it does just that. So when you're playing a Switch 1 game, instead of being in 720p in handheld, it's going to be 1080p in handheld, or depending on the Switch 1 game, some played at lower resolutions for both, but that's a different story. So if the defaulted at 720 and then 1080 in docked, you're going to get 1080 in handheld on the Switch 2 for a Switch 1 game. There are some caveats here because some games simply do not work with this mode. It's not that they won't work at all with the modes on, it's just they're not compatible. And that includes games that have a free Switch 2 edition. So they kind of want you to install the Switch 2 edition instead. Games with the touchscreen, or I think some games with motion controls where you have to move the whole system. Those games don't work because in dock mode, it's assuming that it's in the dock, so that touchscreen controls and other things are just turned off for those games. Games like Skyward Sword and I want to say Mario Maker, those games don't work for this mode. Maybe there'll be a Switch 2 edition version that comes out for those games, but those are the reasons that this does not work. And really any game that doesn't have TV mode, which I don't really think there's a whole lot of those, but there are some games that basically you can only play on the console itself and not in a docked mode, which is really weird, but there are a couple. But what do you think? Will you be turning this on? I guess it really makes some of these older games look so much better in handheld mode. I don't know. I'm turning it on because I play my games in handheld mode way more often than I do in docked mode, but just let me know in the comments below, and while you're at it, go ahead and hit that like button because it tells YouTube that this is a good video and more people should see it. Otherwise, you can click on my face up here to subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.